Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Managing with Mind and Heart podcast. I am one of your co-hosts, Ethan Nash, and with me today,
I am your other co-host.
co-host.
I'm your
Love it.
co-horse. I am your other co-host, Michael Nash.
That's it. We are the co-hosts. Anyways, we got a different type of episode for you today, a special type of episode. And so what you are about to hear is just the audio recording of videos that are on our up and coming, soon to be released Mind and Heart University app. And it's a leadership development course app. We're really excited about it. Mike, just share a little bit about this project.
Yeah, it's been years in the making. This app is going to be used in a lot of different ways. It's going to be available to our organizations to help them with their sustainability practices for all the work and all the skills they've been learning. It's going to contain a lot of resources. It's going to contain discussion questions and guides to this and that and some cool surveys and lots of cool stuff. But mostly, primarily, I should say, it's going to have our whole Managing with Mind and Heart course in video form.
Yep. With worksheets to go along with it, a lot of other different learning aids and tools. Folks, we are excited about this. And I will just say that if maybe after listening to this episode, you are also excited about this. I would encourage you to sign up to go on our mailing distribution list. So once the app is released, you'll get a email about it. So I will link to that in the show notes for you to be able to go do that. And again, what you're hearing is just the audio of what are these videos put together for the course. So I think you'll still get a lot out of this just by listening to the audio. Hope you enjoy it. And yeah, please sign up for the distribution list. We'd love to get the app in your hand and in your pocket.
Yep.
All right, here
Thanks,
we go.
everybody. Ethan, thanks for joining me again.
Good to be here.
Let's keep going. We are asking you all to get 6 things on your management radar as you're getting ready for work each day. We've talked about, please remember that a growth mindset is a prerequisite to being an effective leader. We just got through talking about morale and the fact that it really, according to Ethan, really, really matters. And it's mostly our job as managers, as leaders. Let's just really briefly go back and look at what the research is telling us about morale, workplace morale, individual outlook, small amount, but it's there. It's not a ton because we're not talking about personal happiness. We're talking about workplace morale. The work itself, which we broke down into 4 different categories. Your coworkers, these people that you spend a lot of time with each day, but mostly it's about leadership. And specifically, it's about my direct manager.
That's right. Well, bonus conversation here. One thing that we did not see come up in these morale buckets is anything about money. So that's my question is what about the money? Isn't that something that's going to have an impact on morale?
Yeah, it's interesting in the workshops sometimes, but not all the time, but sometimes people will mention money when they're making their lists of all the things that create morale. And it's surprising to people because what the research tells us is that it really isn't about the money in terms of morale, with a few exceptions. It's not about the money. In fact, here's how it works. You give an employee a raise, it really does increase their morale for about 2 or 3 weeks. But then what happens after that? What happens after 2 or 3 weeks? The morale goes right back to where it was before. It goes right back to base level. Because here's what's not happening 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks after your raise. You're not driving to work thinking, God, I hate my boss and meetings suck and everything's my coworkers treat me poorly, but I sure have high morale because of that raise I got 5 weeks ago, right? That's not what's happening.
Yeah, no. I mean, what that raise might be impacting is your personal happiness. Um, and we won't go down that road and that controversy of whether it does or does not impact your personal happiness. But I will add this. So you have an employee and they are meeting expectations or exceeding expectations. They're being a really good team collaborator with their colleagues, and you decide to reward them by giving them a raise. Okay. Now, was it the money that increased? Oh, by the way, sorry, I should say, and this ends up increasing their morale because you gave them a raise. Now, was it the money that increased their morale? Is the question here.
Mhm.
And given what we discussed, the answer is probably no.
Right.
Right? What's probably increasing their morale in this case was the recognition, right? Money as a proxy for recognition.
Yes. Yes. It felt really good to be recognized and to be appreciated. The money was a bonus. That's not the thing that causes me to think, man, I love my boss, right? This
Mhm.
is a great place to work. It was the
Yeah,
recognition, right?
absolutely. I will say that this is probably one of the more controversial topics that comes up in the workshop. You get a lot of pushback for this. People have a hard time understanding, and I just want to be clear: we're not well. No, we're not saying that you shouldn't pay people well. That's not what we're saying at all. Let's
Right.
pay people well. Let's pay people what we can. We're just saying that
Yes.
as far as what the research indicates, and I think at some level our intuition, you can't just pay people to have higher morale.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
Um, so
Yeah. Well,
that's
and
the
here's
idea.
another exception to, here's another place where money does interact with morale, right? If I'm not getting paid, for example, the same as you, and we have the same skill set and we're doing the same job, that hurts. That hurts morale. But is that really about the money or is that about fairness, right? Is that about equity? Or I'm not getting paid enough to even make ends meet, right? And now I'm my life is impacted by that in a big way. That hurts morale because you, organization I work for, you could actually help me and you're choosing not to. So we're not saying that money doesn't ever impact morale, but we are saying, and I like the way you said that, Ethan, you just can't pay people to have high morale.
Yeah, it's about deeper things. It's about respect. It's about fairness. It's about status. All right, those are the things that impact morale. And yes, money can be used at times to demonstrate that.
Yes, good. Yeah, I like the way you said that. So that real simplistic formula we talked about in the last video, skilled managers equals high morale equals all that cool stuff that you can't pay for and you can't punish for. Now, there's a particular word in that formula that we haven't really honed in on yet, and we're about to do that now. Let's talk about that word skilled. It's not the existence of managers that creates high morale, right? We know that. It is a certain kind of manager. Ethan, why don't you introduce us to this snarky concept, the Peter Principle?
The Peter Principle, our favorite principle by Peter. Um, the Peter Principles essentially employees in any given organization tend to rise until they reach their level of incompetence, which again is kind of a snarky way of saying, hey, you're a really great accountant. So to reward you, we're going to promote you to be the manager of the accountants. And we just hope that you succeed and kind of good luck. Welcome to
Yeah,
management.
yeah, because the skills that made you a great accountant will magically make you a great manager, right?
Right. I sense sarcasm.
Yes. Good. Good sense. Yeah, it's and this is a thing. It's I don't want people to feel bad about this. I'm always a little sensitive about talking about this in the workshops because I don't want people sitting there thinking, "Oh, great, I'm a victim of the Peter Principle and I mean I'm incompetent." And that's not what we're saying. We're just saying that unfortunately, it's kind of the way of the world, which is welcome to management. Good luck. We're not going to provide a lot of training. We're not going to tell you what it looks like to manage here. We're not going to give you skills. We wouldn't do that for somebody who we've just hired to be a lineman or a nurse or any other profession. We wouldn't say, hey, welcome to the job. Whether you have skills or not, go for it, because it would be super dangerous and it would be ineffective and it would cause so many problems. But we do that with managers, which is so sad because these are people who impact all these other lives. And yet we don't provide the resources, the skills, the training that they need to succeed.
Absolutely. Yeah. And of course, as you're alluding to, the implication of that is management is not its own specific skill set, which we know is absolutely untrue. And anybody that's been in management without any management training would probably attest to, yes, that's absolutely not true. It's a whole new skill set to learn.
Yep, that's exactly right. And so we're interested, of course, in the antidote to the Peter Principle. Like how do we counteract that? And the bottom line is a laser focus on leadership skills, to a continual focus on leadership skills. We see the organizations that are the most successful, they don't look at leadership development as a optional thing. They don't look at it as a one and done. We check that box kind of thing, right? You have to stay focused on it because nothing else in the organization succeeds. No other initiative can succeed, at least to the level that you want it to, if your leaders aren't leading well, if your managers aren't managing well.
Mhm. Agreed.
So let's break this down into some general categories. Let's start with hopefully we're hiring and promoting people that are good managers or have high potential to be good managers. Think about the people that we bring in to a management role. Now, it is notoriously difficult to hire, as you know, right? For EQ, it's hard to hire for certain adaptive skills. Most people in their job interview don't say, "Oh, hey, by the way, I need to let you know I'm a vicious gossip." You don't know that stuff. It's hard to figure that out. Just a bit of a life hack here. It's not as hard as you might think to hire for growth mindset. And we're not going to get into that now, but we're looking for people who are focused on their personal growth because that makes it so much more likely that they're going to be good managers or they're going to be open to becoming good managers and able to make those to learn those skills.
Yeah, absolutely. And people that demonstrate that they genuinely care about other people's success. I mean, you've got to look for that if there's going to be a management position in which someone's going to succeed in.
Yep.
I would also add just we got to provide a really good onboarding for our managers, which includes something like a management training course, maybe one much like this, right? Like it's not just, hey, again, welcome to management, good luck, here's your onboarding packet, but it's here's what it means to be a manager at this organization. Here are the mindsets that we want to live by. Here are the skills. Here are the practices. This is how we do it here. And by the way, we're going to onboard you by providing you actual training in these things.
Yeah, good. And then practice sustainability. It's not a one and done, check a box. We did that one training that one time when you first started your job and you were already overwhelmed with everything else you were having to learn, right? You show your employees, your managers specifically, that we really mean it, right? That this is how we're going to manage. You show them that through long-term sustainability of those specific skills by revisiting, by having refreshers, by checking in and talking about these skills, et cetera, et cetera.
Then, of course, let's not forget we actually have to hold our managers accountable for these best practice management skills. What you measure, you get more of. And what you reward, you get more of. And so this is all about not just let's get really skilled and it's not just this is how we expect people to manage people here, but it's like we're actually going to build this into our evaluation processes for managers, things such as that. Hold managers accountable.
Yeah, I've seen annual reviews of managers that don't include anything about managing at
Hmm.
all. So they're not even emphasizing probably the most important part of their job.
Yeah, and let me just add that when you look at Gallup's engagement scores, employee engagement has been around 31% since about 2013. And yet organizations' interest in engagement has gone up over that time. So why has engagement actually not gone up despite everybody saying giving lip service to it?
Mhm.
What they seem to understand about that is because they're not actually building into what's expected of managers. We say we care about this, but it's not built into our accountability structures, our performance evaluations. And so that might be a big factor there. So I just
Wow,
wanted to add that.
that's good. That's really good. Interesting. Very interesting.
Mhm.
So, Ethan, introduce for us the top 15 management skills. We talk about this a lot in our workshops. What are we talking about here?
Well, we're talking about management skills and 15 of them.
Oh, well, thank you for clarifying that.
Got it. Yeah, so these top 15 management skills, um, these are the skills that we at Nash Consulting have put together over the years, and it's based on a lot of research. It's based on the work that Gallup has done on employee engagement and several other uh, sources of here is the skills that managers need in order to create high morale environments, engaged teams. So that's kind of the quick and dirty backstory of these
Good.
top 15 skills.
Good. Yeah, it's and our basically our 6-day workshop, these videos you're watching are built around these skills. We touch on all of them, at least to some degree, some more than others. You may want to pause the video here just for a couple minutes and think through this exercise that we do in the workshop, which is, can you guess? Can you intuit what these 15 things might be? What we're going to do now, though, is we're going to start digging in. We're going to cover one of these 15 skills in this video, and then we'll move on from there. Skill number one, show people caring and respect. This is a big deal. This is, I think, the skill to rule all the other skills. This one really matters. I actually had a participant one time come up to me at break on the first day of the workshop, and he said something like, "You know what? That list of 15 skills was great. It was super encouraging for me. I've got almost all of them. I just don't have that first one." And I'm not sure what I said at the time, but I was thinking, sorry, dude, it's not going to work. You can't not have the first one, right? It might seem obvious why this matters so much, but it's a little deeper than you might think. Let's let's get into it. Here's the bottom line concept. Effective managers consistently demonstrate that they have their employees' best interest at heart. And I want to just say that one more time because it's really important. I want you to pause on this. Effective managers consistently demonstrate that they have their employees' best interest at heart. I'm not saying at the expense of the best interest of the organization. I'm not saying that at all. But employees have to be able to believe that this is true. So let's talk about why this matters so much. We're going to break this down into three main reasons why this is such a big deal. Ethan, why don't you start?
Well, the first reason is this concept, this big idea, extremely important idea of the power differential. We have, whether we want to believe it or not, we have a power differential between us and our employees, and they can feel it.
Mhm.
And so if they look up to someone that has some power, some control over their lives, and they recognize this person doesn't have my best interest at heart, doesn't care about me, doesn't really respect me, they are going to consciously or subconsciously be operating from a place of fear in the workplace. And they're not going to bring their best self. They're not going to engage. They're not going to volunteer their hearts and minds. And so this is about psychological safety.
Mhm.
Again, when you're in a relationship with someone who has authority over you, you do what you need to keep yourself safe.
Yes. Yes, that's really well put. I think about the areas of authority, control, power, whatever word you want to use, right? Think of these as neutral words. There's nothing bad or wrong about this. But think about the areas of control or power that a manager might have over an employee, right?
Mhm.
Time, tasks, uh, what else? Who I work with.
Who you work with, when you work, when you stop work, whether or not you get a promotion or not. And of course, we have managers that say, "Well, that's not me. I don't pull those levers in our organization." But the reality is, you certainly do influence those decisions. And this also includes if someone gets on a performance improvement plan. So we're talking about discipline or maybe even influence over someone losing their job, which is their livelihood. So
Right.
these are big areas of, let's call it what it is. People shy away from the word, but it is power.
Yeah, yeah. Reputation at work, opportunities for training.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, the list goes on. I mean, having your ideas heard and accepted, having influence over decisions. I mean, these are all areas that a manager has power, control, whatever, over an employee. And I don't want to be too redundant, but I think you said it well, but I'll say it again. If I'm in a relationship with someone who has that kind of power over me and they don't even care about me, that's scary. And I'm in self-protection mode and I'm not volunteering my heart and my brain.
Absolutely.
The second reason this matters so much is it's just we call it the psychological contract. It's just the way it is. This is human nature. This is psychology. The more that I sense that you're invested in me, the more willing I am to, and the more able I am actually to volunteer my heart and my brain, right? It's kind of a trade-off and it's not conscious. It's not necessarily transactional, but it's that idea that I sense that you care, that you're invested in me. Not only do I want now for you also to succeed, I want to give my best.
We are wired this way through evolution.
Mhm.
We evolve to have a sense and intuition if somebody is invested in me in my personal success, well-being. And when we see that, then we give back. And this is human nature, as you put it.
Yeah, yeah, that's really good. Ethan, why don't you talk about this one? This one's cool.
This is the big one. And, you know, as we are in a management position here, and if we embrace the principle, the skill of showing care and respect, we actually have a really significant opportunity to improve other people's lives. Now, I love this quote here, but leadership involves communicating to people their worth so much so that they come to see it in themselves. That's another Stephen Covey quote.
Talk about some research here. It's just kind of fun to look at this. According to this research, this study, when employees feel cared about at work, 60% of them plan to stay there for at least 3 years, compared to 7% who for those who don't feel cared about.
Mhm. And 90% of people that feel cared about are likely to recommend their organization as a great place to work. Again, your employees are your greatest recruiting source.
94% say that they feel personally engaged, which is getting pretty darn close to that volunteering heart and mind thing, as opposed to only 43%.
Mhm. And here's the kicker. 94% say they have well-being in their life when they feel cared about by their manager. Now, McKinsey also found that the relationship with managers is the top factor in employees' job satisfaction, and their job satisfaction is the second most important determinant of their overall well-being.
Hmm.
So, to bring the point home, as managers, we are actually in a position to help people have better lives. And I mean, just think about how cool that is. As we spoke about earlier, right? People talk about work outside of the work, and yes, they bring their work home, right? You are in a position to provide a bit more fulfillment, a bit more well-being. So when people go home at the end of the day, they have more energy to give to their partner, their spouse, their kids, invest in other areas of their life. And so this is huge to me. I know it's huge to you. It's huge to us at Nash Consulting. But just I think the best managers are the ones that recognize this opportunity that they have.
Hmm. Yeah, you have an outsized influence, not just at work, but on their lives, which I think just brings a sense of mission and purpose to being a manager. So let's put some behaviors to this. The idea that our first of our 15 management skills, show people caring and respect. We want to demonstrate consistently that we have employees' best interests at heart. How might that look? I invite you to possibly pause the video here for a few moments, maybe jot some notes in your notebook. What does it look like? What are the behaviors that demonstrate that we have our employees' best interests at heart? Ethan, what are some of the responses that you sometimes get in the workshop at this point?
I hear usually as one of the first answers is, a manager who actually checks in with their employees as like human beings, not just checking in, how's the task going? But it's not about productivity and performance, but hey, how are you doing this week? And,
Mhm,
and how are you really doing?
mhm.
Right. Of
And
course, we have boundaries if we need to, but actually caring about how they're doing.
yes, that's really good. And right next to that, related, is a manager who then says something like, "What do you need? How can I help? How can I support you?" And there's some sincerity behind that. You sense that that's not just a box being checked.
Yeah. A manager who genuinely listens to you
Mm.
and listens to your feedback as well when you're bringing feedback that would, you know, hey, this is something I think you could do, manager, to help me be more productive, to have a better experience at work. Manager that listens to that, takes that seriously, asks questions, right? Just demonstrated, hey, I care about you. I want to hear this stuff. Please keep talking.
Mm. Yeah, yeah. As we'll talk about in, I think, one of the next couple of videos, listening really feels like caring. That's a really good point. I hear the manager who respects my opinion, who asks my opinion, who lets me speak into decisions sometimes, who, gives me a voice. It feels very honoring. It feels very respectful.
Yeah, absolutely.
Also, somebody who's concerned about, or at least cares about, my own personal health, my work-life balance,
Yeah.
who encourages me to not, finds out if I'm super stressed, if I'm super overwhelmed, wants to help me with that, that sort of thing. Again, showing that they value me as a human, not just as a worker.
Yeah. And a manager who meets regularly with each one of their employees. I mean, this is one of the kind of opportunities to show care and respect, but
Mhm.
hey, weekly and maybe for a longer one, monthly, I actually just want to sit down and learn about how you're doing, what I can help with, where there might be roadblocks. I mean, that shows a lot of respect for that person.
Hmm. Hmm. Manager who's interested in my personal development. I'm sorry, my professional development, really. Like wants me to grow professionally, even if that means they end up losing me, right? That I move on, I get promoted, whatever. But they show that they're interested and care about me as a human. Again,
Yeah. Do you mind if I tell a very quick story here?
I love your quick story. I love your stories, quick or long.
Okay. You prefer the quick ones, I know, the quick
Sure.
stories. So, um, in one of my first jobs out of college, working at this organization, and it was a bit more of a formal kind of dress wear, kind of dress code. And I came in with like hand-me-down suit that
Mm.
was, way too big for me with patches in it and stuff. And so I guess the director of this office spoke with my manager and said, "Hey, this is kind of it's unprofessional or the way he's dressed." So what my manager did is she, without saying anything to me about the feedback she got, she said, "Hey, let's go on a bit of a shopping trip here." And I'm like, "What?" And so she takes me out and she buys me, not an expensive jacket, but just a jacket, and says, "Hey, we do this for our employees, from time to time." Right. And I found out later that, they don't do that for our employees. She did it, and she didn't want to kind of embarrass me by saying what the director said. And so I say this as just an example of a manager that really said, "Hey, I care about you and I respect you, and I'm going to help you out here." Now, of course, I'm not saying we have to buy our employees things in order to show care and respect, but this is a moment that really stuck with me that I'm still telling, over a decade later. So
Right.
that's
I
care and
love
respect.
love that story. Too bad you didn't have parents that sent you money for things like that, but we'll just
Hmm.
move on from there. So here we go. We're back to our game changer page. We're talking about 6 things we want to get on your manager radar. Have you memorized the first thing? You know what it is, right? It's about having a growth mindset as a prerequisite for being a great manager. What was that second thing about? Right. It's all about morale. Morale really, really matters. And it's mostly your job. We're just starting our top 15 management skills right now. We've just covered one, but that one is so important to us that we put it right there on the radar. Effective management involves demonstrating I have my employees' best interests at heart.